Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/rive to receive the top 10 stocks to buy right now. The battle between Coinbase and regulators, specifically the SEC, continues to heat up. And this week, it really took a step to the next level as Brian Armstrong made some comments while he was in the UK that really, I think, caught a lot of investors off guard. The way the reporting went was that Coinbase might consider leaving the US. I want to dig into exactly what Armstrong said, what kind of actions Coinbase is taking, and what to look for in the future in this video. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thank you for watching Rive Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And if you're interested in disruptive companies like Coinbase, check out Asymmetric Investing. There's a link in the show notes. And that's my newsletter covering disruptive companies like this. So love for you to check that out. But here's the video that really caught my attention yesterday. Coinbase CEO slams SEC, considers investing more outside the US. I'll put a link to this video in this article in the show notes so that you can look at it yourself. But if you actually watch the video, and it's about 9 minutes long, you will see that Armstrong doesn't really threaten leaving the US per se. What he does say is that Coinbase is going to fight regulators who are trying to shut down a lot of its business. The SEC has come after staking. There have been questions about stable coins. There's really a lot of uncertainty for what is and isn't legal as far as the cryptocurrency space in the US. Even the relationships that Coinbase has with certain banks is starting to fall into question. So if you're Coinbase, where do you find a bank that will actually take your deposits? That's becoming a bigger and bigger question, is because of the actions, in particular of the SEC and the Treasury Department. So there are two things in particular that Armstrong said. One, he said that he was going to fight the SEC and any sort of actions that come from them in court. And I think that we can probably expect that Coinbase will put all of its financial resources into fighting those battles. That may be a couple of years before those things really play out. But I think Coinbase is in a pretty good situation given the current rules that are in place. The second thing he said is that they're looking for more regulation. The second thing that he said is that they're looking for more rules from Congress specifically. And he pointed out stable coins is something that I think could be a really great use case for cryptocurrency. You might know that Coinbase is a 50% owner of the consortium that runs the USDC token. That has actually been one of the biggest sources of revenue for Coinbase over the last couple of quarters, and is a growing piece of revenue because the USDC token has assets that are backing the token itself, and those assets are invested in things like treasuries and savings accounts. So as interest rates rise, then Coinbase is generating more revenue, more earnings from that token itself. But there's still a lot of questions about what is and isn't legal in the stablecoin realm. So Armstrong specifically called out that that would be a great place for Congress and for regulators to start, is say, here is the framework for how you operate and run a stablecoin and have it be a solid part of the crypto ecosystem. And we can even worry about some of the other tokens later and what those might look like from a regulatory structure. And all of this comes in the backdrop that the SEC issued a Wells notice, which, as CNBC notes here, is often one of the final steps before regulators formally issue charges against a company. So Coinbase knows that they have gotten a Wells notice, but they don't have any official charges of what they did wrong in the eyes of the SEC. So this is all really coming to a head. Now, what I think is really interesting is that investors have not reacted very sharply to this news this week, and it's probably because we saw a lot of this coming. Coinbase has said pretty explicitly that it's going to fight any regulatory or legal actions that the SEC takes or any other regulators take. And in the meantime, we've seen cryptocurrencies rally pretty sharply. Bitcoin is over $30,000 again. Activity on Ethereum and Solana is starting to pick up. So there's a lot of positive news for the crypto industry. And that's one of the reasons that Coinbase has rallied so far this year. So despite all these regulatory challenges and all the fights that might be ahead, Coinbase actually looks like it's in a pretty good position. Despite the headlines indicating that Coinbase might leave the US, I think that's a last resort, and that's still probably a few years away if it ever happens. So keep an eye on what is going on from a legal perspective with Coinbase. I will definitely be covering that on this channel. But sometimes the headlines get a little bit out in front of what's actually happening. There's a long way to go before Coinbase would ever resort to leaving the US, because it's going to fight the battle to stay operating here and headquartered here as well. So definitely a lot of uncertainty and volatility ahead, but I'm definitely not selling Coinbase right now. But what did you think about this week's news about Coinbase in particular? I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow Rive Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you here next time.